Hi everyone, this is Neel Raithatha, consultant audiologist and director of ClearWax. Thank you for joining me in my latest video using the WAXscope. And here we have a patient with bilateral occluding, very sticky wax and dead skin. And this is their right ear. We're near the entrance and we know that by the fact that we can see those hairs. So these hairs are normally located on the outer third and predominantly around the first bend of the ear canal, which is about 0.5 centimetre in. And because it's quite sticky and there's an opening at the top, I'm now going to use the Rai Curette, I think, and try and scoop some of this out. It had mixed results. I did get some of this sticky wax skin out, but also because of the consistency, it did somewhat spread some of it at the base of the ear canal. But it did nonetheless overall help the procedure. And so I'm just scooping this from the entrance. I do revert back to microsuction, I believe, bit later on. So this is extending all the way towards the eardrums in the distance. So that's the full length of the ear canal from the first bend to the eardrum. So in total, we're looking at 2 centimeters worth of the ear canal. And you can see I'm using the Rai Curette quite deep actually, because I managed to create an opening at the top. And again, I'm just slowly scooping it out. As we come away with any instruments, you just got to be careful you don't graze or cut into the floor of the ear canal. When we're on the outer third, we've got a bit more of a buffer because it's a thicker layer of skin, it's cartilage, whereas the inner 2/3 is made up of bone. So whenever you're going this deep in the ear, you do have to be extra cautious. So I'm just trying to reach over. And I'm just little kind of brush stroke movements really to bring this forwards. Some of the eardrum is already visible in the distance. That blue tinge in the distance, I can see the short process of the hammer bone, the malleus, so already the patient can hear a bit better. And it's quite a narrow ear. You can see the diameter of the Curette, I think it's about 3 mils, so it just about fits when we go deep in the ear. But I think at this stage, I'm going to revert back to microsuction in a moment. So this is probably some of that earlier wax that I removed, and some of it, as I mentioned, it almost spread to the floor of the ear canal. So there we are. I'm just reverting back to the standard Zysolner suction probe. This is what we normally use to perform microsuction, and aligning the WAXscope to the floor and to the back part of the ear canal. And you can see it's entangled with some of the hairs. There's quite a lot of skin there. That's where the reflection's coming from. And I'm just trying to lift it away. This is what's so great about the WAXscope. We've got such high magnification that you can see all the detail. We can see the boundary between the wax and the canal wall. Sometimes with wax of this color, if you're using different visualization methods, it almost camouflages. So it's very difficult to distinguish between the wax and canal, which can potentially mean you do make contact with the canal, which will be uncomfortable for the patient. And I'm just trying to separate it. And we can start seeing some of the canal wall there now. And I think at this stage, I'm going to put some medical grade olive oil, as you can see. And what will this do? This will help to loosen some of the wax and skin that's adhered to the canal wall, so it allows us to separate it much easier, as you can see. It also helps to lubricate the inside of the suction probe. When you've got the consistency of wax and skin like this, it can get trapped as it's being suctioned up the probe, so that will reduce suction power. So with a bit of oil in there, it just lubricates the inside of the suction probe. So I'm just going to the top, I'm just lifting this, or should I say pulling it down. So I've quite a few of these kind of types of consistency of wax. So I'm uploading another video today on my other YouTube channel, the Hair Clinic, or the Wax Whisperer. You can type that into YouTube, and that's when I was using the iClearScope endoscope, and that was much more of a stickier wax, but not too far off. I described that wax as being like chewing gum, and similarly here you can see it's stretching as I'm trying to remove it, similar to chewing gum. So I'm just giving it its little wriggle movements to try to separate this bit. again, I'm kind of aiming more at the back and at the floor of the ear canal. I'm going to lift this up. You can see it's still slightly attached deep in the ear. And the oil itself, with this type of wax, it helps to bind it together. That's another benefit of the oil. Otherwise, ideally, I want to get this out in a single large piece. It just makes the job a bit easier. And the oil facilitates that, or it should, but it's not quite going to plan at the moment. But I do think I get this out in a big plug. There we are. Minus the oil, you might prolong the procedure a little bit because you're taking bits away at a time. So it's just some skin kind of halfway in the ear canal, just going to get that in focus. Then there's a bit at the front, I think. Sometimes with this type of wax and skin, as you remove it, it does clarinet, so you've got to be careful. So clarinetting is when you suction skin and the skin vibrates violently at the tip of the sucker and it releases a very loud, high-frequency squeal, which is loud for the patient, but also for myself. So you've got to bear that in mind. Sometimes you just leave some of the remnants around the edge. It's not worthwhile if, of course, it is clarinetting, especially because you can do more harm than good, and that's the last thing we want. So now I'm going to move on to the patient's left ear. It's not as blocked. I would say it's semi-occluding. This is right near the entrance. I'm just getting that in focus. You can just see how sticky it is. It really has got that caramel consistency. And once more, we need to separate it off the canal wall itself where it's adhered to. And I'm just rocking it up and down, just trying to separate it. You can also give it some circular rotations with the sucker. That can also help to release the wax plug of the canal. I think I'm going to use the Curette again. There's a bit of an opening there. You can see the top part of the eardrum in the distance. So once more, I'm going to slowly come away with this. I'm just bearing in mind the floor of the ear canal. I don't want to embed the tip against it, especially the bony part of the ear canal. But just like the patient's right ear, I did manage to get some of it away, but because of the caramel consistency, again, it was just spreading it at the floor. So I've just put some medical grade olive oil again, change the consistency, working at the floor of the ear canal. I'm just lifting this up. You can see some of it is entangled with the hairs. And I think it's the hairs in this instance which are preventing it from coming away far easier. But I think I've managed to loosen it from the hairs. The problem we have now is this ear, in comparison to their right ear, it's far narrower at the entrance and it's a bit more bendy. So as I'm pulling away, I'm having to navigate the bend in the ear and also the narrow part of the ear. You can see getting the speculum in. This is a medium-sized specular. Could have reverted to the smaller one just to get full insertion, but the occlusion's gone now. So I think I did get some clarinetting here. You can actually see some of that skin flap. So I think I've just left that. I'm just getting some skin in front of that away. We're just going to visualize the eardrum, which is nice and healthy. You can see it's a good view of the eardrum there. It was tempting to remove that skin, but as I said, because of the clarinetting, I just felt it's best to leave it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. If you are interested in the WAXscope, please do email info@clearwax.co.uk. Thank you, bye.